Welcome, everybody. My name is Ayelet Cohen. I'm the Events and Programs Manager at the Burnaby Board of Trade. Thank you all for joining us. Before we start, I would like to take a moment to recognize that we are on the traditional homeland of the Hunkaminam and Squamish speaking people, and we extend appreciation for the opportunity to hold a meeting on this territory. So in today's event, we have Dan Sarah and Patrick Smith of BCAA will outline what small business insurance is with straightforward information to help you assess your business, understand the risks, and review common claims that small businesses face. Before we start, I'd like to thank our annual partners who are those organizations who stand out as top corporate citizens in Burnaby and support our work throughout the year. We can hopefully see them right here. We can see them on the screen right now. So on the platinum level, we have Burnaby Now, Parkland Corporation, SFU, VCAT School of Business and Media, and Douglas College. On the gold level, we have Electronic Arts, BD, Pacific Blue Cross, and ABC Recycling. And on the silver level, we have Port of Vancouver, Appia Development, Blue Myth Technologies, Alexander College, Trans Mountain, Scotiabank, TD Bank Group, and Fortis BC. Thank you very much for our sponsors. And now we can start. And I'm pleased to get underway with today's session. As we go through today's presentation, if you have questions, please enter those in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screens. And we'll try to have a few more minutes at the end of to answer those questions. So today I'm pleased to be joined by Dan Sarah and Patrick Smith with BCAA. Dan is the Senior Field Adjuster with the BCAA Small Business Insurance Team. He has handled claims across various commercial and habitational lines of coverage for several years, and prior to the launch of SBI, was a field adjuster with BCAA Home Insurance. Patrick is a senior commercial insurance advisor on the BCAA Small Business Insurance Team. Patrick has over 23 years of experience in the insurance business. Dan, Patrick, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Ayelet and Sarah, for having us here today to talk about small business insurance. And just to note, if you hear us say commercial insurance, it's the same thing. So we know you're all busy entrepreneurs. We'll walk you through small business insurance basics to help you assess the risks you face and determine how to protect your company's growth and potential. So before we jump into it, if you want to put in the Q&A section there a comment about one thing you're hoping to understand about small business insurance or commercial insurance in general from this meeting today. So you can take a moment, you can type that in anytime. As well, throughout the presentation, if you have any questions that come up, please keep on typing those in the Q&A as well. And if it is something that we don't end up addressing in the presentation, we can discuss it with you at the end. Also, one other announcement. We are having a contest. It's a chance to win $5,000 for your business, and it ends on October 28th. Pat will share some details about that at the end with us. Okay, so as mentioned, my name is Dan. I'm the Senior Field Adjuster, and Pat's our Senior Commercial Advisor, one of our small business insurance experts. And you might be thinking, I didn't know BCAA even has commercial insurance or small business insurance, and you probably wouldn't be alone. This is a new offering, and it's something that BCAA just launched last year. We had found that the needs of small business owners in BC were not being met, and either from being underinsured, having no insurance in some cases, or just trying to find some clear, solid advice. It just wasn't a convenient process all around. And so we all know insurance is the last thing you want to think about, but it's also the first thing you just want to get taken care of and out of the way as quickly as possible. So the way we designed our approach to it, it's an online portal, and we tried to get a balance between simplicity but also personalization so that you can customize, quote, and even purchase your BCAA small business insurance policy online anytime. And then if you come up to any stumbling blocks, our small business insurance advisors, such as Pat and the rest of the team, are always available to come in on a chat with you. And so, before I hand it over to Pat, just a few housekeeping details. The first one is to just remind you that the material covered in this presentation is provided for general informational purposes, and it does not, and nor is it intended to, constitute legal or insurance advice. But any questions you have, we will answer as much as possible and with as much detail as you would like, either throughout the presentation or at the end. And so now we're ready. I'll hand it over to Patrick.
Thank you, Dan. So can you guys see my screen? I seem to be having a issue here. You guys can see that?
It's looking good to me, Pat.
All right. Okay, so yeah, again, like Dan was saying, my name is Patrick Smith. I'm a senior commercial advisor with BCAA, and I've been around for about 24 years now, I think, this year. So yeah, I think we're going to start out this morning with a poll question and find out where you guys are, what kind of business you're running. So what's your primary profession or your industry there? Are you hospitality, manufacturing, contractor, retail, landlord, business professionals, or other? Take a minute to do that. And I'm going to regale you with some small business BC stats that are unique to BC here. So according to the BC Ministry of Jobs, Economic Recovery and Innovation, in British Columbia, compared to any other province, small business employ the largest share of workforce, and then self-employment is the most common and more common than any other province. 98% of businesses are considered small businesses. In a province with 5.1 million people, about 523,600 small businesses. This represents roughly 1 in 10 British Columbians are small business entrepreneurs of some kind. That's about 60% of the jobs out there from small businesses. So way to go, BC.
Pat, we had Virginia telling us she is a landlord.
All right, well, we're going to address some of those landlord questions as we go along through the liability and the property sections there. But yeah, welcome. If you have some specific concerns as a landlord, pose them out there. I'll be glad to answer them if we can. All right, so moving on here. So what is small business insurance? And how's it going to help you and affect you as a small business owner? And I hope by the end of this program, this webinar here, that we'll be able to shed some light on that and let you see how we can benefit you. So I guess the first question you would ask is, what's the purpose of insurance? Primarily, there's three things that's the purpose of insurance that affect small business, and one is to reduce risk. The second would be to protect financial uncertainty, and the third would be to manage accidental loss. And having said that, really the main reason people buy insurance is for peace of mind, right? They want to know that they're covered in the event something happens. So like I said, BC small business insurance is there to cover you and protect you from maybe it could be from damage caused to others. So if your small business causes damage to others through your operations, or there's a bodily injury, the insurance can pick that up. Or it could be theft or damage to your business. from an insured peril. Loss of income, it would support loss of income from your small business if you were, say, taken out from a small peril like, like a flood. And people ask that. I want to pose that question. We get a lot of questions asked about what is a peril. So peril is an insurance event. It's an insurance term for an event that can cause property damage or bodily injury. So an example of a peril would be flood, fire, sewer backup, earthquake. These are typical perils. And then the last one there would be defense costs, legal defense costs. Yeah, so we'll expand on some of these as we go along, and hopefully have some questions about those. So when you purchase a business policy, typically it's going to be broken down into different sections. And coverages will vary depending on your profession, the industry, and the size and scope of your business operations. So typically every policy is going to start with a commercial general liability, and that's what we call the foundation of all insurance policies. You're not likely going to find a property only policy, but you can get a standalone commercial general liability policy. So once you got that, then you can add property coverage in there. And this is anything usual to your business. It could be tools, equipment, office supplies, office equipment. And then the third section would be a specialty section, which would be things like maybe errors and omissions or malpractice in coverage or equipment breakdown. So getting into commercial general liability, so it protects your business from damage caused to others. And one of the other questions we get asked a lot is, does it cover me? What if I get hurt on the job site? And that's a good question. And no, it doesn't. This is why WorkSafe BC comes in there, and that would cover you if you get injured on the job site. Commercial general liability is going to cover third party or other people, which would be maybe your clients or passerbys or someone coming on your premises, slips and falls. And commercial liability itself is broken down into many sections, and it's pretty vast. But today we're going to focus on what we call the injury sections. We got a bodily injury, we got property injury, personal injury, advertising injury. And then we got some follow form expense coverages that are like medical expenses, which follows the bodily injury. And then we got some legal defense costs. So like I was saying, commercial general liability, it's there, also known as a CGL, and we're going to refer to as a CGL as we go forward. Provides coverage for liability claims arising from any bodily injury or property damage to others as a result of your business operations. So bodily injury, it's like it says, it's a physical injury to your body, but it's broader than that. It means other things like disability, sickness, disease, mental anguish, mental shock, mental injury. And typically, these are follow forms that follow any bodily injuries. Even death would be under this section here. So an example of a bodily injury might be, you're a landscaper out there and you're cutting a tree branch that falls on someone passing by, and they get hurt, or they all the debris on there, they slip and fall on the debris. Bodily injuries can happen in any industry. It doesn't matter what you are, whether you're a consultant, whether you're a tradesman, whether you're a retailer, or other kind of professional or manufacturer. It doesn't matter. They happen all the time. I've been in this business, like I said, 24 years, and always amazed. Even consulting, I've been in webinars or seminars, and people are running down with their coffees and their cookies, and they trip on a cord, or they trip on the carpet, or trip on themselves, and a bodily injury occurs, right? So doesn't matter. It's can happen anywhere. Medical expenses, which is a follow form and it follows a bodily injury. We call this incidental medical just because it pays out a lower amount, anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000. BCA, I think, is $25,000. And this covers incidental accidents that can occur. So let's say you're a home-based business and or landlord, and someone trips and falls. They're coming on your premises, they trip and fall, or they slip on the ice out in the parking lot, something like that, and they sprain their ankle or they break their leg. So now you call an ambulance. Ambulance shows up, $350, and now that person's taken to the hospital. And now there's going to be attending physician fees. There might be prescription drugs. There might be a cast. There has to be there, X-rays, some private nursing. Who knows, right? Maybe some dental work. So yeah, phone it in, get them looked after, because these things, they prevent lawsuits. You look after them. We'll cover that. We're happy to do that. And medical expenses can be triggered without any legal action and regardless of fault. And like I said, they cover things like incidental medical, surgical, ambulance, hospital X-ray, professional nursing, dental. Even funeral expenses can be picked up under this section. So, call it in, get your client looked after. Property injury. So property injury is a physical injury to tangible property of others. So back to that scenario where maybe you're a landscaper, you're cutting a tree, the branch falls on the house next door, damages their roof or their gutter or their air conditioning system out there. Or you're a retailer, someone trips and falls or hurts himself on the floor, right? You're mopping up the floor there, and you didn't have a cone, someone slips and falls. So, and they knock over some racks, or they damage someone else's property or damage your property. So property damage, it wasn't your intent to go out there and cause property damage from your business. Maybe you're a contractor excavating and you hit a water line and you cause a flood. So this kind of thing can be picked up under that property damage section. Personal injury. So unlike a bodily injury, personal injury is things like social wrongs, like maybe humiliation or discrimination, or a defamation of reputation or character. It includes things like false arrest, false detention, or imprisonment. You might see an example of that where a retailer, their employee is a little bit ambitious. He's following people around, and he figures he's found someone who's stealing from you. So he grabs that person, detains them in the back, right? And it turns out maybe they're just putting their ear pods in their pocket, and they didn't in fact steal. But maybe they suffered some humiliation. Maybe their boss is with them, or maybe their spouse is with them, or employees with them, right? So yeah, that would be an example of that. Malicious prosecution. So this would be something like wrongful criminal proceedings that you brought against somebody. Wrongful eviction or wrongful entry for you landlords out there, right? So if you're not following the residential tenancy agreements and rules, this can also can affect you there. So this would be part of your personal injury. So yeah, things happen. We never intend them to, but I guess we can only be so careful, and stuff's going to happen, right? Advertising injury. Now, I know we're all active in social media these days. This is certainly a generation of social media, and small businesses, they take full advantage of that. Interestingly enough, I Googled the definition of social media because it's so vast. I'm going to read this to you because I couldn't memorize all this. So I'm just going to bear with me here. I'm going to read this to you. So social media broadly means any platform, website, application that permits users to share information and content or participate in social networking. So is this sounding familiar? You may have some aha moments here. Social media includes, but is not limited to, the following: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, messaging platforms and communities like WhatsApp, Reddit, and other related messaging apps. Includes blogs sharing platforms like YouTube, Zoom, like we're Zooming now, Teams, Vimeo, podcasts, and participation in interactive electronic forums such as electronic newsletters, online forums, chat rooms, message boards, online seminars, on and on and on. So yeah, when you're advertising, it might not be you who's doing the advertising. It might be, your son or daughter, or your spouse, your friend, your employee, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. So, it might be like, hey, Dad, I seen your competitor there advertising on Facebook, for instance, and his ads are doing wonderful, and he's increased his business by double or triple over the last couple months. I think we should copy it, and maybe tweak a little bit and see if we can increase our business. So you do, and then 30 days later you're served, right, for infringement. So yeah, the use of another's advertising ideas in your advertisement is probably not a good idea. So advertising injury would be things like infringing on someone else's advertisement, copyrights, trademarks, slogans, even intellectual property, things, creations of the mind, like, inventions or literary and artistic works, images, designs, symbols, logos, those kinds of things. So yeah, you got to be careful. When you're advertising, check to make sure that no one else is using those things. It could be slander, maybe your son or your brother-in-law's out there advertising for you, and he badmouths the competition. It could be libel, if he's doing it in written or video or picture format. That also applies. Legal defense costs. This is my number one pitch when I'm promoting small business insurance, specifically CGL coverage, commercial general liability. Because if you're brought into a lawsuit, you're going to have to defend it. Whether it's a nonsense lawsuit, whether it's applicable to you or not, you still have to defend it. And these lawsuits, they can be tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they can last for years. Not typical, they last 3 to 5 years is the most typical amount of time that these things before they get settled. So legal defense costs. My pitch here is that you can spend $1,000 a year for a CGL policy, or you can spend $1,000 an hour to hire a defense attorney. So like I said, they can be nasty. They can go on for years. Typically, the people that are bringing these lawsuits, they don't come from a place of love, So, they've been hurt, or they've got some kind of grievance. So, like I said, as part of your business planning, insurance should play a major part in that. Insurance is there to protect you. It's to protect your financial future. It's to protect you personally. Depending how you set yourself up as a legal entity, a proprietorship, or incorporation, insurance should play a major portion of that. New business planning. Let's see if I can get this next slide going there. All right. So that's the commercial general liability section of a policy. The next section would be your property section. This could be anything usual to your business. So it covers items you own or are responsible for insuring against a variety of perils such as theft or fire. So the reason we stop here is because it not only covers your stuff, but you might be responsible to be insuring property of others. Something that's in your care, custody, control, for instance. You're consigning goods, or you're working on someone else's product there. You're taking the computers. If you're an IT guy, you're working on them or repairing something. So like I said, property can be anything usual to your business. So if you're a building owner, it could be your buildings. It could be unit improvement betterments. It could be all your tools and equipments if you're contractors. Your stock inventory for retailers, all your office supplies and office gadgets and office equipment if you're working out of an office or at home, home-based business there. So interesting enough about this property section, it might not be you who dictates what kind of coverage that you're supposed to have or you will have. It might be, for instance, if you're renting a retail space, it could be your landlord who dictates that you need coverage. What kind of coverage? How much coverage? If you're a building owner, like a landlord, it might be your mortgagee that's dictating that, how much coverage you need, your replacement cost in your building, how much liability, your loss of income. So yeah, something to think about. When you're renting or leasing a space, it might be someone else who's participating there with you. The specialty section, coverages that aren't defined as property or commercial general liability. It could be things like I said, professional liability, like errors and omissions, or malpractice if you're in the medical profession there, or a physiotherapist or a massage therapist. It could be directors and officers. It could be, surety and bonding if you're a contractor there and you need some bonds to bid on a project. Oil and machinery, equipment breakdown. So pretty much anything that doesn't fit into the norms there, we can add it in there. So as your business grows, so can your coverage. So do I need business insurance, small business insurance? Well, I'm hoping that you'll see the light here in a few moments. So here's some of the questions that we're going to poke at you, and hopefully this will be relatable. So if your business were to cause damages to a third party, are you protected against a potential lawsuit? So like I said, you can out-of-pocket these things if you have a nice big fat bank account and you're willing to wait it out for a few years to defend a lawsuit. Or, you can buy a business liability. Do you operate your business out of a commercial space like a shop, garage, warehouse, or office? Yeah, so if someone's slip and fall on your premises, that your liability would pick that up. Do you have a landlord who's dictating this thing if you're working out of a warehouse or a shop? Do you have clients coming and going? Do you have a delivery man coming and going? Do you have equipment, tools, or inventory that'd be too expensive to replace? Yeah, I mean, I drive down the street, I see contractors with tools in their trailers. Excuse me. Could be tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in there. Retailers, they invest a lot of money in their shops. Offices are expensive. You put all your unit improvements and betterments in there to set up a new lease under your office space. So yeah, small business, we invest a lot of money into our businesses, and it's things like if you have $5,000 of gadgets in your house under your home-based business, probably not worried about it. But if you're spending tens of thousands or maybe 100,000 or more, you might want to consider buying insurance as being the most economical way to protect your equipment there. Would an equipment breakdown significantly impact your ability to do business? Yeah, I mean, I have a story I have a client a few years ago who it was a hotel. And they had this massive surge that occurred outside that affected their business. They it blew all their computer systems blew down. Their sophisticated phone system was blown out, and that's where they do all their bookings for their hotel. Even their electrical panel blew, and it was massive. I think that claim alone was over $250,000, and it's not something they were thinking about. Hey, we're coming to work today. I think we're going to experience a surge, and we're going to be shut down. But they were shut down for about a month, and good thing they had equipment breakdown that covered all their surge. They had surge protection under their equipment breakdown coverage. They had loss of income coverage there. They able to get their loss of income for that month that they were down. So like I said, you don't plan for these things to happen, but they do. That's just part of nature. And good thing they had insurance to protect themselves there. So if your business was to shut down unexpectedly, would you have the adequate savings to support yourself? Like I said, insurance should be part of your business planning, unless you have a huge amount of cash on hand that you can go through these kinds of things, these claim situations. But part of your business planning out there is anticipating things, right? It's part of your SWOT analysis. You're doing your strengths, your weakness, your opportunity, your threat analysis, and you're planning to grow your business. So, insurance should be a part of that. Do you collect customers' information? All right, so this would be a cyber issue. If that was to fall into the wrong hands, then this is something that could maybe come against you. Our clients ask to see proof of insurance. Yeah. Responsible businesses want to deal with other responsible businesses. And a lot of times they're going to want to ask for proof of insurance. Does your business goals include future growth? Well, I hope so, right? Like I said, your business plan was to grow your business, to provide for your income now, provide for your income in the future, and maybe your retirement, right? So under your business planning, your continuity planning, like I said, unless you have a lot of money there to bankroll everything, every scenario, insurance is the most economical and fiscally responsible way to ensure that you're going to have the future growth going forward. So poll question number 2. Now we want to know where you're operating from. Are you operating from a store, warehouse, office, home? Are you working out of your car? Are you working out of Starbucks? Are you working out of your hotel room in Vegas? So take a few minutes there and just let us know where you're working from. While you're doing that, we do get some other questions there. Just trying to go through some of these questions we've had in the previous ones. So one of the questions we were posed last time was, what's the difference between professional liability and commercial general liability? So professional liability, known as errors and omissions, it's more of an abstract kind of risk. The difference between professional liability and commercial general liability is it's what they cover. So professional liabilities cover more abstract risks like errors and omissions or malpractice coverages, whereas a commercial general liability covers physical risks such as bodily injury and property damage. So we thank you for that question because we get that asked quite often.
Hey, Pat, one of our attendees, Kent Carter, was saying that he principally works from home. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to ask Kent, was that mean that there's a small portion of your time where you're working at somebody else's premises?
Yeah, so like I said, your commercial general liability there is going to pick up any bodily injury or property damage claims that occur anywhere. So people come on your premises. I mean, Amazon are delivering parcels to you probably all the time, and people are coming and going maybe on your premises, right? Anything related to your business. I mean, even a mailman sending mail to you through your business, if he slips and falls, things can happen, right? If you're visiting on other people's premises, there's always a chance that one, they're going to want you to have probably a commercial general liability in order to get on their premises, and there's a chance that if they you knock something over, or you trip and fall, knock over their Ming vase in their foyer or something like that. Things happen, right? So it's better to be prepared, and just in case something happens there. But more and more, people who work from home, myself included here, like I got deliveries coming and going all the time, right? So commercial general liability is worth the investment. Any other questions there, or did we get any polls there, Dan?
No, that was it for questions.
Okay. All right. So, do you run your business out of your home? Yeah, we find more and more people are majority working from home because of this COVID situation here. So, if you're working from home, you want to have that conversation with your claims, not your claims, but your home advisors there to make sure that your business qualifies under your home insurance, because not all of them do. Some people are running 2 or 3 different operations. I had a girl running up to 7 different types of operations out of her home, and 2 or 3 of them may qualify, and the rest don't. So in those situations, don't worry. The home advisor will probably send you over to the commercial side there, and myself or one of our other team members will be able to help you out. But have that conversation. Tell them what you're doing and where you're doing it. If it's in your garage, out of your office, in your home, or clients coming on premises, they're going to need to know that. Knock on wood that you never have a claim or you never have to go through a lawsuit or anything like that. But it's good to know that in the event that you do, that you have a reputable company like BCA is going to back you. And we have, I can't think of anybody better to help you with your claim than our own Daniel Sarah there. So take it away, Dan.
Hello again, and thank you, Pat. Thanks for explaining the main subject areas there of commercial insurance. And so just quickly let you know my background. I've been working in insurance for about 11 years now, and all of that time has been in the claims department and handling commercial claims for most of that time. And so now we're going to look at some of the claim scenarios that are common for commercial insurance and how they would fall under those subject areas that Pat was just explaining. And whether you work from home or you go to an office or on the road all the time, there's some common situations which can result in having something to claim under your insurance policy. And so let's start by taking a look at the general claims process and just some of the basics of how we would go about handling any type of claim. And then just a reminder, this is all for general information and education purposes and not to be taken as advice on a specific claim. And so here we are with a slide showing sort of 5 broad steps, and there may be more. It all depends on the details of the claim itself. But in general, it would start out with you gathering information and reporting the claim. And so that's information such as the timeline of events, what happened when. We would want to know when you first noticed the problem. And at this point, it's just general, like a W5H of the situation. And then after that, you've reported the claim. You might be talking to admin staff, or you might be talking to someone whose job is just to open up the claims. And then they would send that information over to someone like me, who would be the adjuster that works with you start to finish. And then when I get your information, I'm ready to have our first conversation together. And that's when I would look over and talk about the information you already have, and then identify any areas where we would need to gather more details. And once we're at that point, we've gathered all the extra info that we thought we need. Then the adjuster, someone like myself, we would use that information that you've provided to us to determine if the policy can cover your claim, and if so, how much. So part 3 of this general flow here is where we would compare all the details of what happened to the wording of your policy and link it up as many places as we can. And then after that's done and we're able to confirm coverage, the next step is to quantify the amount that we can cover. And so we might be asking you for invoices or receipts to show what you had bought a certain item for if it got stolen or damaged. Sometimes the claim is for your business being shut down due to damage at your premises, and that's when we'd look at your income statements, trying to find out how much of a financial loss you're incurring on a daily basis to cover you under the business interruption coverage that we have. And there's always something else. There could always be another document or another receipt or something that we'd like to take a look at just to help figure out how much we can cover under the claim. And once all that's nailed down, we'd be ready to settle the claim with you. And even the claim settlement is something to talk about, because that can take a few different forms. Sometimes it's just a lump sum payment to you or scheduled payments to you. If it's a business interruption, we might be paying you on a monthly basis. Or if it's just purely for physical damage at your premises, we might just pay the contractors directly who do the work. And then the other side of it is the liability claims. That relates back to the commercial general liability policy that Pat explained. And that's when there's a third party, someone not part of your business, not one of your employees. It could be a customer or even just an innocent bystander who somehow gets hurt or their property gets damaged. And that's when we'd probably pay them directly, or we might pay their insurance company directly if they've opened up their own claim. All right, we can move to the next slide. And here's the first of a few slides where we're just going to look at some scenarios of what could happen and what coverage you might need if something does happen. And one good point here before we get into the details, just should mention something that Pat talked about, is that our small business insurance policies include the commercial general liability coverage in all of them. That's the foundation of it all. And that's because it could just end up being the costliest kind of problem that you want to have dealt with by your insurance company. And any type or any size of business, there's just always a chance that something doesn't go the way it was planned. Someone could get hurt or other people's stuff could get damaged. And then on top of the commercial general liability policy, that's when you would add on all your own coverages for your own property. And so to get right into it here, for example, we would look at a hair salon, and the coverages that I've listed here might not be all that you need, but that's the basic sort of set of coverages that would be helpful. And so the commercial general liability, that's damage to other people. Commercial building contents and stock, that's what covers your own business property. And then there's the loss of income coverage, which you might sometimes see referred to as a profits policy, and then a crime coverage, separate from the coverages that are in the property policy. We have the crime one, just because that broadens what can be covered and how many different problems we can help you with. So let's look at a scenario where we have a liability exposure, and that's, say, a slip and fall because of hair left on the floor. And so you've done one client's styling and the leftover trimmings that haven't been quite swept up yet, and then another customer walks right over it, slips and falls and gets hurt. That kind of injury would be covered under the commercial general liability. And then say something like windows broken overnight. Your big storefront display window gets smashed by vandals. that goes back to your commercial building contents and stock policy, because any part of the premises that the lease says you are responsible for, we do cover under there, under the property portion. And then another one, an example of liability when it's not an injury, but more of a property damage. Say you spill hair dye on someone's designer handbag or their leather jacket. They can make a claim for the cost of that bag or jacket under your liability policy as well. All right, thanks, Pat. And so another set of coverages, and this is a type of business that we insure a lot of, is contractors or handymen. This is where you'd still want the CGL and the commercial property coverages. But in addition to that, you see that I've added two here, and they both have the word floater attached to it. And believe it or not, that's an actual insurance word where we say installation floater or a tool floater, equipment floater. It's because that's the kind of insurance coverage that follows you wherever you go. And the flip side of that, the commercial building content and stock, that only covers you at your business premises, whether that's the portion of your house that you use for your business or if you're going to an office. So why would you want the policy to follow you wherever you go? Well, if you're a contractor carrying a trailer full of tools and it gets stolen as you're grabbing a coffee on the way just right out of the parking lot, that's when you would want to have coverage that follows you no matter where you are at a job site or en route even to a job site. And then that's for your tools and equipment. And the installation floater is a similar thing that applies coverage when you're at the job site to any of the materials, even if it's not quite installed yet. If it's materials that are going to be installed, that gets covered under the installation floater. And so taking a look at two scenarios we've listed here, we've already talked about that first one. And the second one, again, goes back to the liability coverages. We look to see whether the problem is strictly within your work, like say you hung a cabinet too low, that's something that your insurance doesn't cover. But say when you were hanging that cabinet and you screwed a screw or nailed a nail through a pipe behind in the wall that you didn't know about, and now we've got water flooding your customer's house. That, that pipe in the wall had nothing to do with the scope of work that you and your customer agreed on, so that's completely outside of your work, which is therefore able for us to cover under your liability coverage. And next, please. Thank you, Pat. We came up with another example of professional organizer. And this is to highlight things that might happen when you go to your customer's premises, as opposed to vice versa, a customer coming to your store or office. So we still say the commercial general liability policy is the foundation and one of the most important parts. And adding on to that, we would have contents and stock coverage. And that's for anything your business owns, whether it's your pens and pencils, or as an organizer, if you're bringing a system to your client's closet to put up shelves or bins or other storage, anything that you would consider content, stock, inventory, that goes back to your property coverage. But then again, we have another time where we see the word floater, electronic equipment and laptops floater. That's a more specialty item of coverage there, because we were looking at the commercial building contents and stock, and it didn't speak so specifically directly towards something like the replacement cost of a laptop or a tablet that you might show demonstrations to your customers. And so having the electronic equipment and laptops floater more specifically insures those items, just because they don't fit neatly under the definition of tools or equipment. And then again, crime, because if someone could do it, probably someone has done it already, and it's better to be protected. So thinking of a scenario, a couple here, if you are in your client's house and you're doing your job of helping them organize or coming up with a method or system to stay organized, and your elbow comes into contact with their prized statue or Ming vase that Pat was talking about, and it lands on the floor in a million pieces, that's where we go back to the commercial general liability policy. Or the flip side of that, back at home, you're following up after you've done your work, you're doing your notes, writing your reports, And then there's the power surge from bad weather. Maybe lightning hits a transformer, or a tree falls on the power lines. And now you've got a power surge and your work computers are all toasted. That goes back to the building contents and stock policy that you would have for coverage on premises. And by the way, that would actually be called a weather-related claim. If wind knocked down a tree and it caused a power surge and blew up your computer, we'd still call that a wind damage claim. All right, Pat, carrying on. And then landlord, we had Virginia tell us that that's her business. And so there's a couple coverages here that are a little different. So we have the same ones, commercial general liability, commercial building contents and stock. But then added on to that, we do have a separate policy that you can add on to your main one for rental income. And then we also do have a couple other separate ones that you can add on, specifically for landlords who own units in a strata, whether it's a condo in a tower or one unit in a set of row housing or townhouses. If you are the registered owner, and even if your tenant causes damage, for example, from the overflowed bathtub and water damage to the units below them, those are the kind of things where you'd still get notice of it and you still might be responsible for some, if not all of it, depending on your tenant's situation. And so that's where we would go back to the condominium unit owner's liability endorsement. And then on the property side of that, if you've made any upgrades or changes to the rental properties that you have, if they're in a strata, strata insurance only covers the original materials. And so you need your own coverage if you've upgraded the flooring or if you've added more cabinetry or something in the kitchen or in the bathroom. Those would still be considered improvements and betterments, even if a previous owner had done them, as long as it's anything that's not original to the building. So that's where we would say that you would want to have that commercial building contents and stock coverage with a high enough limit for improvements and betterments. And again, Pat, we can carry on.
Okay.
All right. And then, just before we talk about the claims process tips, this not on a slide, but a quick note I added just earlier today was to mention that we also have business interruption coverage. I briefly spoke about that a few slides ago, but just to give you more detail, this is sometimes called profits coverage, and it's mainly the intended purpose is to cover your lost income. But the good thing about the profits policy that we have here at BCAA is it covers your direct loss for the days you're shut down, and it also covers lost income on a projected basis, what the business would have been earning a year from now if, for example, you haven't regained that revenue or that level of turnover that you had prior to being shut down. So we cover your direct lost income, additional expenses that you need to incur to get your business running, either at a temporary location, or if there's no power and you want to buy or rent your own generator. Those are extra expenses that we cover. But then in the long term, and it's on a 12-month basis, where we would have coverage to help you get back up to that level where you were before, or the projected level that you think you should have been at had there been no damage. Okay, thank you. That was a bit wordy, but it's a good one to know. And so to finish up my part of it, I was going to share with you some tips. This is just coming from my point of view as an adjuster and what I've just seen over the years that makes it easier for you as the customer to get your information to us, to help us basically figure out as much as we can pay you for a claim. And so before a claim ever happens, one thing that I found is helpful is to take pictures of anything that your business owns, inventory or tools. Even right after you get the policy confirmed and paid for, you take a picture of your work area. And this is all before a claim has happened, and hoping that nothing ever happens. And it's something that you can just save on your work computer hard drive. Hope we never need to look at it, but it's a quick snapshot, and it helps us remember what you had and helps you remember where things were. And in a theft claim, it can just be so difficult to recall and list every item that was stolen. So a picture can be a great reference. And then if a claim does happen, I'd say as soon as possible, right away, you write down everything that happened, even if you want to draw a diagram, if it's sometimes related to, mobile equipment or vehicles. How did it travel down the road and hit my car or something like that? Always good to write things down, draw a diagram, or take a picture of the area that got damaged, and then to make sure to collect any names and contact information of everyone who was involved, if it does involve other people. And then again, just to do this as soon as possible, because what you think psychologists say is that even a day later, it's natural for us to start forgetting some of the basic details of what happened. And that's especially true when it's a stressful situation, which it usually is at the moment of when this kind of damage happens or when you have to make your insurance claim. And then as far as presenting your claim to the insurance company, along the way, as your business purchases any new equipment or new supplies or does any upgrades or renovations to the premises, to keep all that supporting documentation. And again, pictures work great. You can just take a photo of the invoice and stick it on your work hard drive. It doesn't take up that much space. There's only a very few situations where we need the original paperwork from you, but the majority of the time, a copy, either fax or scanned copy, are totally sufficient. And then just to follow up on that point, saving all your receipts and invoices, even things like account statements from your business bank account or statements of account from your main suppliers or distributors or ledgers from your bookkeeper. It's a way to just put a paper trail together to make sure we are figuring out, the most amount that you're entitled to us to pay for under policy. And I think that wraps it up for me. Pat, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan. And thank you, everyone. Like I said, let us know what you're hoping to learn about these webinars. If you have specific things that you want us to target, we'll be more than happy to do that. So, BCAA is there for your small business needs, and we're BC specific. We know the type of business that operate here, and bring us your quote, and we'll be glad to give you advice and help you insure your small business. So, any questions that anybody has? Is we can take some calls and some questions here if you have. And feel free to email us, if you have any specific questions at all, or go into bca.com and under small business, you can chat live. You can ask your questions there. So we're happy to answer questions about your small business. That's what we do. And we got a nice, wonderful team there that will help you with that. So you can go to quote online at bcaa.com/small business, or when you go on the site there, you'll see your insurance choices. You hit small business, and it'll take you right into that quoting process.
Hey, Pat, we do have a question from Leanne, and she's asking to repeat a bit more about insurance on the cyber loss coverages that we have.
Okay, so cyber, most insurance companies now under their CGL cover are offering minimal cyber coverage there, and typically it's expense only. It's going to cover, some auditing expenses and stuff like that. So when you collect information from clients, specifically financial information and personal information, if that was to get out in the wrong hands, you'd want protection from that. So there are companies who specialize in full-blown cyber coverage. Then they have defense costs in there. Like I said, most companies who offer under the CGL coverage are not going to offer defense costs under that. It's going to be expense only. But you can get standalone cyber coverages, and they cover anywhere from $50,000 up to $5 million in terms of liability there. So they're very broad. They'll cover you for defense costs if you're brought into a lawsuit, plus a vast array of expenses that certainly we wouldn't, or most companies won't cover under just a commercial general liability coverage. So, yeah.
And so our cyber policies are also, we work with another insurance partner who specializes in that type of policy as something that we offer as part of the package when you buy your insurance policy from BCAA.
Mm-hmm. So if you go online there, use the promo code BBOT, Burnaby Board of Trade, to receive a new customer discount. Here's our information there. You email us at smallbusiness@bcaa.com, or you can call us there at 1-888-268-2222.
So thanks again, everyone, for being here, and we look forward to see you again soon. Have a great day.